Today we've got my good pal Dave Goode talking to us via telephone. And a few weeks ago, my wife, Dave Goode, and my friend Ricky Blaylock were watching the 1968 film Superargo versus the Faceless Giants. We had a lot of fun doing that. Dave, how do you compare Superargo versus the Faceless Giants to other masked wrestler movies?
Well, I'd say I compare the Superargo series. It can't be compared to the masked wrestler movies that come from Mexico. I generally used to refer to them as Mexilucha hero movies because obviously they came from Mexico, but I've gone back to just saying masked wrestler movies because the Superargo series does originate in Europe, Italy, as a matter of fact, and I think they compare favorably. I don't think the Faceless Giants, and this is, just a matter of opinion, is quite as good as the first movie, Superargo versus Diabolicus, but they're both really good, really cool masked wrestler movies.
Patsy joined us for this Patsy joined us in watching this picture, and Patsy has this cute little phrase she says about work you sent me to do, and she says that in your artwork that you send me the pieces, it says she calls it Dave Goode's girl in overhead bondage pose. Oh, tell me what's that about?
Tendency to add a bondage girl, and she usually has her hands raised or tied over her head in some manner. I don't know why that particular pose sticks in my mind instead of, just tied to a chair or whatever, but that just goes back to the my love of Golden Age and Silver Age comics, more so in this case the Golden Age comics, where you always had a bondage babe on the cover, enticing young readers to buy the comic, that is. I mean, a comic cover is what, after all, sells a comic book.
Now, if a Superargo comic was made in the United States in the 60s, who could you picture publishing it and working on it?
That's a tough one. I generally think of, Marvel or DC doing adaptations of masked wrestler comics. As you know, I think Ditko doing an adaptation of Santo versus the Vampire Women would be off the charts, and Ditko and Wood working together on a Mil Mascaras comic book, or over at DC, I would have probably had Gil Kane and Murphy Anderson, or Gil Kane and Sid Green doing a Mil Mascaras comic, or Carmine Infantino and Murphy Anderson working on a Blue Demon comic. But for Superargo, for some reason, I just think of Charlton Comics doing it. I think Pat Morrissey, who did the Peter Cannon Thunderbolt comic for Carlton, yes, would have been fantastic doing the Superargo comic.
Now, if they did a third installment, what would you have liked to have seen in a third Superargo film?
Something, Bondian. I mean, the first movie, Superargo versus Diabolicus, is more or less a spy thriller. Even though the hero isn't wearing a tuxedo like James Bond, he's wearing red tights and a black mask. I see it as another spy thriller, perhaps this time going up against the Red Chinese, or an Asian villain of some sort. After all, this was 1960s. We didn't have to be politically correct. We could actually have a Asian villain of some sort. So I'm also thinking possibly an Asian villain, simply because I have this picture in my mine, and that's the direction I gave you for this particular illustration of Superargo going up against one, two, maybe more sumo wrestlers at one point.
While I was working on the illustration, you know that I was watching the Tennessee-Alabama game. So
About that too.
Say again.
I root Tennessee when it comes to football too, but you know, hey, it is what it is.
Yes, it is what it is.
My gosh, it just hit me too. Superargo's wearing Bama red.
I know. and the sumo wrestlers are wearing UT orange. So And I hope you share, like, click subscribe, and follow me on social media. Make sure you check out Dave Goode's blog, Good Stuff. And there's a link below in the description. Dave, thanks for joining me, pal.
Okay, no problem. Good talking to you again, my friend.
All right, we'll see you next time. God bless.
And a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater.